Dude, that's the sweet smell of sunshine. That's my girl.
Is my mom gonna see this?
I love your background.
Well, thank you. It's from my buddy Tony Toscano in Salt Lake.
I know. I met with him this morning, as you know.
Yeah, he sent this to me and I go, that is perfect. I love it.
Do you want me to have a background as well, or is this okay?
No, you're fine. You look great.
Okay, good.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is quite an experience. I've never done this before.
You and me both. I'd never heard of Zoom until like a month ago. So I loved your documentary, Land of Little Rivers, and it brought back such memories. I have not fished since I was like in kindergarten. I lived in Reno for a time, and we used to fish in the Truckee River going for trout. So this brought back all kinds of memories. But being in Las Vegas, we have Lake Mead or Utah next door. There's not many places to go fishing, but this was such a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie, and I was really fortunate to be able to make it and spend all the time we did shooting in a really incredible environment in the mountains of the Catskills.
Bruce Concourse, labor of love, and he seems like this was such a passion project for him.
It was. He contacted me through social media. I've known Bruce all my life, and I hadn't spoken to him for a few years. And I was promoting another film at the time, and he called me and he said, I want to make a film about fly fishing. And it is something that he lives and dies by. He is obsessed, passionate, addicted fly fisherman. And basically that's what he spends his time doing now. He's retired, and he wanted to make this film, and I didn't know a thing about fly fishing until he introduced me to the sport.
Well, in the documentary, we introduced to the anglers, the Neversink River, the birthplace of dry fly fishing. I didn't know there was such a place.
I know, it's the Neversink River. It was, everybody looks at Theodore Gordon, who's a character in our movie, who started the technology for American dry fly fishing on the Neversink back in the early 1900s.
So many great characters in this documentary. And we go to a place, I just love the name, Deposit, New York. What a great name. And we meet the hippie guide, Rob Lewis, who I think is like the Jimmy Buffett of adventure guides.
Absolutely. He is, he's my favorite character in the movie. He's so colorful. He's so smart. And his life is all about fly fishing. He's a wonderful guide on the Delaware River system. And he's notorious. Everybody knows Rob Lewis.
I want to hang out at the Sugar Shack. I want to visit there, and I want to catch a Delaware brown.
He'd love to have you. He's got a couch always ready for anybody who wants to drop by.
And you can't make up characters like Rachel Finn, a cigar chopping, fly fishing character. I mean, she just cracked me up. She seems such a great, like right out of a Hemingway novel.
She really is. And she is really well known. She works out of the Adirondacks on the Ausable River, and we were really lucky to get her. We always wanted to have at least one female in the movie, and she has such a history and longevity to her career as a guide, and she's such a character. She's a Jewish woman. She's a fine art student from Yale. Her art is unbelievable. When she isn't fishing, she's in her studio making art. And as you saw in the movie, she loves to use Yiddish words when she's out there fly fishing.
And the movie kind of was all centered on New York locations. Is that the purpose of fly fishing? Is that where it all began? We stayed in New York the entire time?
Well, the story was really driven by Bruce's relationships to that area. He grew up fly fishing in the Catskills, and it's renowned. It's the East Coast mecca for fly fishing. So that's why we concentrated our time there. And it's a very different place from other areas of fly fishing. It's very different from fly fishing in the West or up in Canada.
And what really struck me from the documentary is this was such a serious sport. There's even a museum dedicated to it, which looks so detailed.
Yeah, there are a couple. We have one in the Catskills, and then there's one in Massachusetts. They're both beautiful museums, and people love to go visit them. And they were really, really helpful to the making of this movie. They lent a lot of photographs and gave us a lot of time there. They're really accessible.
And if the museum's not enough, there's an annual fly fishing convention, which just this incredible people got together to talk about this.
Yeah, in our movie, we filmed the largest convention, which is in Edison, New Jersey. And it's a place that people really look forward to go to because it's off season, it's in the winter, and it gets everybody excited for the season open in April. And
I have to visit the Atrium Lodge. That looks, I can't believe a place like that exists. It looks like so much fun.
Well, the Antrim Lodge is still being restored. It had a few issues over the history, but a young couple bought the Antrim. They're restoring it now. It probably will be open really soon, but it has a huge history that dates back to the 30s and 40s.
And your documentary also includes the art and technique of tying fly fishing, you know, tying the lures, and the Hendrickson. I mean, I'm just learning all kinds of different terms that go along with this sport.
There are so many different flies. It blows your mind. And we were really lucky to have Dave Brandt in the movie, who's a renowned Catskill fly tyer. Unfortunately, Dave just passed away. He was a character. We loved him. He gave us so much time, and he is a real expert at his craft.
And I love how you have a call to action also in your film, because the rivers are being polluted, debris, garbage, fuel spills, and there's a call for conservation because that's the way of life for all these fishermen. Absolutely. Without these rivers, the tourist industry would be decimated. Unfortunately, while we were shooting, we had that train wreck, which was just outside a deposit and put about 4,000 gallons of diesel fuel into the river. Luckily, at that time, the rivers were very high, so the oil passed through and didn't affect any of the fish or the bugs, which was really lucky. Had the rivers been low, it would have been devastating. So, you know, I always wanted to make a film that talked about conservation of these rivers, and we were fortunate to, have that unfortunate incident happen while we were filming. And what I love about your documentary, it just seems so naturally Americana. This is an American sport, it feels like. And also the oral history that you have preserved in this documentary. It's so detailed with all the different legends over the decades, with the techniques, the areas. I mean, this is a real love letter to this sport. Yeah, we have some legendary characters in the movie, from Joan Wolfe to Dave Brandt and a whole host of other people we talk about who are no longer alive in the movie. We tried to show a brief history of the sport. It is very American. Interestingly enough, when you go to the town of Roscoe, which is sort of the epicenter for fly fishing in the Catskills, you'll see so many different people from all over the world flock there. The sport is very big in Eastern Europe, in the Asian countries. So those that come from other lands gravitate up to the Catskills to do their fly fishing. I mean, I love, what is it, Ratface McDougal? I mean, only in fishing could you have a name like that, right? I know. And it's really amazing to watch Dave Brandt when he's tying his flies, because he has that book that we show that is so incredibly detailed, where it has a recipe for every fly that you'd ever want to tie. And being a film critic, I just kept thinking of movies where fishing was one of the themes in the film. I mean, everyone knows a river runs through it, but I was also thinking Anatomy of a Murder with Jimmy Stewart, where he's teaching fly fishing how to tie with the judge. Funny Farm with Chevy Chase, where they go out fishing, remember, and then the lure gets in the guy's neck.
Yeah.
And also the Andy Griffith Show had an entire episode called where they were fishing. Fishing was opening, and they were trying to catch Old Sam, this carp that was in the lake. So there's a lot of movies and TV shows dedicated to fishing.
There are, and I haven't seen a lot of those episodes you just mentioned. Be fun to go back and watch that Andy Griffith one.
Oh, absolutely. And that's my last question today. Are you an expert now in fishing after completing this documentary? It seems like you're just a walking book of knowledge now.
Well, you know, it's funny because I know a lot about fly fishing from making the movie and researching and being around these experts for a year and a half. I didn't pick up the sport. I think it's probably because I was with people that had so much knowledge. And I could see that it's complicated, it's complex. And to be honest with you, I have too many hobbies as it is. I didn't want to pick up another one, and I could see how this sport really becomes addictive.
Oh, it's a passion. Yeah, it's a passion. If you watch Shark Tank, Damon, he fishes 6 times a month. He says he goes out fishing, and it's alive and well. But so if I asked you what makes good trout water, you wouldn't know?
Oh, I would know. Sure. Cold, deep water. That's what trouts love. And you know, one of the most amazing things that I learned making this film is how important bugs are to great fishing. Along the rivers that we filmed in, every week or so, there's a different hatch of a bug that is a nymph that comes up out of the water, becomes a fly, lives for about 24 to 48 hours, falls back into the river, and that's what the fish feed on.
Well, in the Andy Griffith Show, Goober's secret was using a piece of banana peel and red yarn, but he wasn't.
Is that right?
It is. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for joining me today, and I loved your documentary, and also it's just so relaxing. I watched it Sunday morning, and it just not only was just nostalgic, there was something about it that was just really put you at ease, and I'm just informative too. So, what a job well done.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a beautiful movie. We're lucky to be able to film in an incredible environment, and we shot in 4K, and it just really turned out beautifully. And I'm so thrilled to show it to the world now. And I appreciate being able to talk with you. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for joining me, and best of luck with the documentary.